Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Kingswell Conversations, conversations that are shaping the face of foster care and adoption in Virginia, in the US and around the world. And I am really happy to be joined once more by Richard Kingswell himself, CEO of Foster VA and Extra Special Parents. Thank you for joining me today, Richard. How are you doing?
It's always a pleasure, Nikki. I'm doing good. Virginia is beautiful. It's got its sunny hat on and we are enjoying the winter.
Wow, you're very lucky. I'm over in the UK, as you know, and we have a storm due in this evening. So it's very chilly over here. So, Richard, on our last episode, we touched a little bit on kinship care, which I know is an area within your field of expertise. That is something that is really important to you and is something that I know is getting a lot of your focus in 2026. So I want to just expand on that a little bit more with a couple of questions. But what I'd like to do before we go into that is just for people who aren't necessarily familiar about what kinship care is, how it looks, etc. Could I just hand over to you to just kind of set the scene about kinship care?
So kinship care has been around for a very long time, since probably the first children needed some assistance when parents were doing things. So kinship care is all about somebody else looking after your children while you are unable to work with them. In the child welfare environment, that is related to there's been a problem of some sort that the state has stepped in and said, this family needs some assistance, they need to be separated from the child. This could be as simple as they're going into treatment and you need to look after them for 30 days and then everything's okay. So that very short-term plan, it may be like, I've recognized there's a problem. And that one's called informal kinship care. And so informal is, there's no courts involved or things like this. This is family helping out family, and they just say, we're going to step in. So informal is no involvement from the state. It is trying to make it work within the family unit, friends unit, from, I just need a weekend break, the kid's driving me crazy, I think I'm going to do something bad, I just need to step away. And the next door neighbor steps up and says, look, I got the kids for the weekend, go away. And I think every parent has been through that sort of thing. I just need a physical, mental break. That's informal kinship care. And then the second stage is the formal kinship care. And that is when the Commonwealth, the states, Department of Social Services have said, we have a problem and we need a more in-depth solution. And this is not a quick fix. This is going to need assistance from social services, from social workers, from psychiatrists, from medical professionals, from people just getting things done, getting electricity turned back on in the house if they haven't been able to afford, working through all those sort of systems. And so when it goes into the formal care, this is when social services is looking for that kin as well. It's not just knocking on next door neighbors. This is where we have a team of people trying to help you, trying to get you the support you need. But because there's a lot of moving pieces to this child that's been looked after, it gets big very suddenly. And so this is an instant family situation for somebody. Someone's just going to be asked if they're going to look after a child with no real time frames. Kinship care is usually a lot shorter. It's like 6 months would be a long time in kinship care, because if the parents can't get their problem sorted in 6 months, then it's going to move up to the next level of looking for adoptions and things like that. So this formal kinship care is finding the resources. And that's the difference between informal and formal.
Okay. And so when it comes to kinship care, my question actually for today around kinship care is, why does kinship care still require a structure? Why does it still require training? Why does it still require professional oversight? Why can't I just look after my niece? Why do I need you guys involved?
So informal steps in first. If you can organize it yourself and get this done, then the social service and everybody will never really know about it. It's what we've been doing for a very long time. when it goes formal, it usually means the crisis is a lot bigger than that one moment in time sort of thing. It's not a bad weekend. It's not a bad situation. There's systemic problems within the household that has been recognized by the state, and the state has said we need extra assistance. So the reason it goes formal is, one, the state has no power over your family. And so the state has to step in and say, judges, we need to have the authority to look after this child and work with this family. And so as soon as the judge gets involved, then it becomes all formal. And now we're talking paperwork. And when there's paperwork, there's bureaucracy. And when there's bureaucracy, there's rules. And when there's rules, there's laws. And when there's laws, there's expectations and accountability. And so everybody is working to try and make this work within a legal framework of that the state just doesn't take children. You have to look after the child that you've taken into custody, into care. And so all these things put in a pressure of structure. And it's not fair to Uncle Bob to say, you have no supports. We have all this structure, all these rules that you need to know about, and you haven't got anything to inform of what you need to be doing. If this child needs medication, how do you know if you know how to give medication? You may never given an injection. You never may have done a feeding tube. All these sort of things that all have rules about them. Medical care. The child may be in foster care because of medical neglect, because the medication that the child's needing is too complicated. The child is diabetic, and all of a sudden they're doing injections and blood tests 4 or 5 times a day, and they keep going into very bad sugar drops or sugar highs and damaging the child, and the biological parents haven't been able to cope with it. So it's not fair for the next door neighbor in the kinship care to say, oh, you know how to do this, let's go for it. So that's where the structure comes in, that we have to train and support these new instant families to look after these children that have been through trauma and need assistance.
And so ultimately, at the end of it, it's because the welfare of the child is the most important. It's not about the adults and what they bring to the table and where they come from. Everyone involved has to know that the welfare and needs of the child are being met. And therefore, that's why there needs to be the structure and the training. But it's not, what you're trying to do is support people. It's not an invasive process, is it?
Well, it's...
Or can it be?
It's, well, we want to make sure that the person's appropriate to be there. So yes, there is invasion. We will do background checks, criminal background checks and things like that. So it's not, oh, here's a free child lying around that we just need to find anybody to take, sort of thing. So there is conversation, there is background checks, there is home studies and things like that, but it's done in a reverse situation. So it's like, make sure that the immediate needs of the child are taken care of from a safety perspective. And then, is the house okay? So we'd have to make sure that there's a spare bedroom. We can't put a child under the stairs. This is not Harry Potter sort of thing. We need to have the environment checked and make sure everything's okay. So, which is a bit of a shock if you only had a phone call this morning and you could be a family by tomorrow. Yeah. And so it is very much a situation that we have to do our due diligence, because there's laws about looking after children, and we've taken a child, we want to look after this child, and we want to give them the best opportunity to get back to their family. So yes, we want to do it gently. You haven't volunteered for this yesterday and you're volunteering today. So yeah, the bump is quite severe, where a normal foster parent who is deciding to become a treatment foster parent, it can be like a 2-year process to think about these things and say, am I ready?
And they step forward, haven't they? They
step forward
as well.
And they've had 3 months. They've been looking at the computer at fosterva.org and waiting to click the button and going back and coming forward and visiting the site, reading more articles, watching movies. And this kin had a phone call yesterday. And so the bump is much more severe. And yes, their heart's in the right place, but they also need to understand that this is a responsibility for a child's life. And they may have been a parent they may be grandparents, it may be their kids, it may be, there's so much going on. So we do have to investigate and make sure that this is a good match for the child, because we don't want to put them into a family situation And then that kinship person says, oh, come over, abuser, come and pick your child up and we won't tell anybody.
Yeah.
There's some unhealthy families out there.
That's a scary reality, isn't it? And so lastly, why I know that kinship care is something that you're really focused on, you're really wanting to put a lot of time into for 2026 and beyond. Why and why now?
Well, like many things in America, the federal government is giving lots of mandates to the states that they've seen the research. They believe in the research that if the child is removed from their biological parents or the parents that are looking after them at the time of the abuse and neglect, that going back to a kin is more successful than stranger foster care. And the percentage difference is there, and that's the most important part. It's not a ginormous difference, but there is a differential, and so we want this to be working successfully. So the evidence shows that if we can find kin, which is not as easy as people think, because becoming a parent in 24 hours, 48 hours is not a small undertaking. So that you may have a big family, but a big family that's got a spare bedroom to put a kid in, that has the time to go to court, to get medical appointments, to take on a life suddenly, there's going to be a lot of no's. And so that awesome kinship parent, we want to look after. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, Richard, and letting us explore. If you missed episode 1 all around kinship care, please have a look on our playlist and on the site and you can find it. But thank you so much for explaining a little bit more about kinship and its role in the foster care journey. For those of you watching or listening or whatever format that you're doing that in, if you would like to connect with Richard away from here and tap more into that font of knowledge that he's got, or just connect with him because, you're in the same arena as him, you can find him on LinkedIn at Richard Kingswell. And if you are watching this and you come from a fostering background, adoption, DSS, or you're just interested in learning more, please go to the website www.fosterva.org, where you can also download Richard's 45-page free guide to fostering and adoption in Virginia. And you can also check out Extra Special Parents at www.espva.org. Richard, thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you, Nikki. It's always a pleasure. I'm looking forward to meeting next week.
Yes, we will be back again with another episode and we hope you will join us. Take care now. Bye-bye.